Are live to YouTube.
We are live to YouTube.
I like it. Are we live now? Red. I don't remember.
We are live to Shaw.
Welcome and bienvenue, Anine. I'd like to begin our meeting, as we always do, by acknowledging with respect that we are in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory and that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as Bawating. Bawating is home to Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and it is the traditional home of those who now occupy the Sioux Tribe and Bay Mills tribes. And it is also the home of the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. Madam Clerk, with that, I believe we are going to the Sioux Michigan City Clerk. We are, of course, here. I should preface my comments by saying we are here with our counterparts from Sioux Michigan for a joint council meeting, which we are very pleased to do. First one on this side in many years. But before we get to the actual content of the agenda, I'll go to the American Clerk for, I believe, a roll call.
Good evening. Mayor Gary,
Here.
Commissioner Bauer, Commissioner Baspis Rath, Commissioner Gage, Commissioner Habusta,
Here.
Commissioner Marble, Commissioner Rubenstein.
So we need a motion to excuse Commissioners Marble and Commissioner Rubenstein.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. All in favor, say aye. Aye. They're excused. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Troyer. Clerk Kaczynski.
Under agenda item 2, the Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan Commission had the Pledge of Allegiance.
All could rise, please. Pledge allegiance.
Flag. United States of America. And to the republic for which is one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice.
Very much.
Thank you, Mayor Gary.
Under agenda item 4, I have a motion by Councilors Spina and Scott that the agenda for June 3, 2024 special city council joint meeting with Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan as presented be approved.
All in favor? That carries.
Item 5.
Well, I prefaced my comments earlier a little bit, but we are extremely pleased, Mayor Gary and Council, Commission, I should say, to have you here. Welcome you to our international city, one city across two nations, as we like to say. It is an important relationship, a historically important relationship, and one that we are eager to continue to build on. I was lucky to be invited to the Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan Chamber of Commerce luncheon last week and said that every dollar spent in Sault, Michigan, some of that ends up being spent in Sault, Ontario, and every dollar spent in Sault, Ontario, some of that ends up being spent in Sault, Michigan. We are an intertwined economy, one that supports one another. I know we've got a couple of hockey players from across the river that play on our side, Mayor Gary, and we've got lots of Canadians who go and enjoy the U.S. offerings across the river as well, including we're going to hear today from the new president of Lake Superior State. Many of our local students end up there as well and have for many years. So it is always a pleasure to build on this relationship, to try and continue to develop this relationship. And it is one that is of critical importance to both of our communities. So thank you all for joining us, and look forward to the work tonight and the continuing work over the term to come. I'll introduce our councillors as well. We're not typically doing roll calls, so it escapes me to do so. We've got Councillor Marjorie Bruni, councillor from Ward 4 here to my immediate left. Next to him, Councillor Dufour, councillor from Ward 2, Councillor Gardy from Ward 5. Next to him, Councillor Scott from Ward 5 to his right, Councillor Vazo-Allen to his right from Ward 2. Councillor Caputo in the first seat at the back row here from Ward 3, Councillor Spina from Ward 1, thank you, and Councillor Zagordo from Ward 3, and on screen we've got Councillor Stephen Kinnick from Ward 4 as well. So thank you, Council, for being here, and I'll turn it over to our acting CAO, Karen Fields, who is also our city solicitor, to introduce our staff.
Thank you and welcome. City staff that we have here tonight, our Chief Peter Johnson, our Fire Chief, Rick Van Stavern, Director of Economic Development, Peter Tenazzo, Director of Planning, Travis Anderson, Director Tourism Community Development, Madison Zupa, our Deputy City Clerk, Shelley Shell, our Chief Financial Officer and City Treasurer, Rachel Jasinski, our City Clerk, and myself.
And on screen, we've got CAO Bear, who is joining us virtually. Madam Clerk, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly a pleasure to be here again. And I'd like to introduce our city commission. On my right is Mayor Pro Tem Ray Bauer, City Commissioner Jay Gage, City Commissioner Jody Bospus Rath, and City Commissioner Steve Habusta.
Manager
Am I missing?
Chapman.
All of us.
Yeah. If your city manager wishes to introduce your staff.
Yeah. City Manager Brian Chapman.
Thank you,
I'm
Mr.
not
Mayor.
with the person on the
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We, tonight from the city of Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, we have Kelly Freeman, Community Development Director, Ed Miller, our Fire Chief, Wes Bierling, our Police Chief, Tyler Perrin, Director of Public Works, Nikki Radke, Economic Development Specialist, David Boyle, City Engineer, Kirk Tews, Water Director, Robin Troyer, Deputy City Manager, and I think that's it. That's it. And then myself, City Manager Brian Chapman.
Mayor Gary, we're looking for a Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan project update.
All right, we'll move to item B, which is special orders of business on the Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan meeting agenda. City Manager Chapman.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, if you want to throw up the project updates, PowerPoint. Just real quick, just a couple of projects that we got working on this year and the next couple of years. Yeah, it looks good. All right, if you want to turn to the next slide, please. Some of the projects that we have going on for this year and the next couple of years. One of our bigger ones that we've got in the pipeline right now is the $35 million wastewater treatment plant and collection system upgrades. Our wastewater treatment plant hasn't seen a massive upgrade since I think '86, and then before that it was original. So there's still a lot of original components to the wastewater treatment plant. So we got a $35 million project. Half of it was a loan through the state of Michigan and half of it is a grant through the state of Michigan. So a lot of work with that one, and in conjunction with that one, we have ongoing combined sewer overflows and sanitary sewer overflow projects. It's a big requirement for us in our discharge permit through the state of Michigan to end all the CSOs as quickly as possible. Some of the city's been working on since the early 90s. So we got a few big projects that are in the pipe work right now. We're making some sidewalk improvements throughout the city, trying to make ourselves a little bit more walkable. Safer School project is moving forward. Several street improvements that we're working on. It's too far away, I can't see. Easter Day, part of our Car by Dock project, that one should be wrapping up this year. We've been working on that for the last 2 summers, last summer and this summer. We're going to finish up the second phase of that one. Meridian Avenue, which is a key road going into LSSU at the Norris Center. That one's going to be redone this year. Next year and the year after that, we're working on Shunk and Marquette, and those are going to be 2 projects that we're working on with our tribal partners, the Sioux Tribe of Chippewa Indians, through one of their big federal grants that they received. So they're going to be funding some of the road improvements within the community that'll benefit them and the city. This summer, we're starting work on a Rotary Park pavilion and restroom. So you can see that from the river down a little bit. Right now we have pit toilets in the area. And we had a community group with our Rotarian Club that fundraised money over the last handful of years. We were able to use that as a match through the state of Michigan. They're going to put in a nice pavilion and restrooms to kind of round out that area for us. I-500 track facility upgrades. Mayor Shoemaker was up there, can need some love up there. So we got a big economic development, or no, EDA, what is it? Economic Development Administration. I was thinking agency, but administration. That's a several million-dollar project up there. We're in the design and construction phase of the project right now. A lot of the construction will probably happen next summer, most likely. We have a water tower project that we're kind of excited for. There's going to be a mural that we're going to paint on the water tower. So trying to take a static, kind of boring piece of construction, no offense, Kirk, but trying to make it a little bit more exciting for our community and kind of welcoming, as it's kind of a key spot right along the I-75 corridor. And then our east resistance is the Car by Dock. So we have a couple of slides that just shows you some of the projects or some of the pictures projects we're working on. You want to skip to the next one, please? So this is our 4th Avenue Water Tower project. Director 2 is the Water Department actually put a call out to the public for designs. I think we probably got about a dozen different designs somewhere along there. From little kids to adults, we went through them. We picked out the ones that we felt represented the community and were feasible for us to do. So this will be one side of the water tower. We've got the UP, which we're all proud of, and the star highlighting Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. If you want to go to the next slide, we'll show you the back side of the tower. Sault Ste. Marie, founded in 1668. So Again, it's kind of a neat project. We had the community involved in designing the water tower. It's going to make a nice asset for it. So you want to go to the next one? This is the carbide dock. This is one that we're always talking about, the one that we're most excited for right now. This is an older slide. It started off as a $23 million project, but it quickly ballooned up to $35 million. So this is the area you can see from your beautiful conference rooms. Look across, it's got all the dirt piles up there right now. It was a former industrial site. It houses the LSSU Seafree for their fish and aquatics program. You want to go to the next slide. This is the rendering that it'll look like once it's done. It'll encompass a new park with some boardwalks that the public will have access to. From what I understand, it's a key fishing spot for the community as well. So the site itself will kind of be a mixed use, as it'll be able to accommodate the cruise ships coming in, as well as any kind of industrial loading or offloading. We started this project a handful of years ago, but we made construction headway probably last year and this year. So we got a couple of pictures that will show where we're at. You want to skip to the next one? Yep, this is one of the aerial pictures that we had recently sent to us by a photographer over in the Sioux. It's kind of showing you from the riverside, the nice boardwalk that's going in there and a lot of the work that's happening. I'm going to skip to the next one. And then these are just side pictures of the boardwalk that's going to be put in. So once everything's said and done, there'll be a nice boardwalk. The public will be able to walk across, access the water. We got a lot of different funding programs in there. One of the big ones we received from the state of Michigan is a electrification. Am I saying it right, Dave? Electrification, which will accommodate any kind of future electric boats that may come in. So it's going to be a real neat space when it's done. I believe that's all I have. You want to skip to the next one? Yeah. So those are kind of the highlights. We do have a lot of other projects going on, but I mean, these are kind of the headlines for us at this point. So if there's any questions, be happy to entertain them.
Thank you, City Manager. And typically what we do is open up for questions for the City Manager on any of the projects.
And I believe there are some questions on our side as well. So
Questions or comments?
Councilor Scott.
I just have a quick comment. Thank you for redoing Meridian. That is a street that I'd like to take on my Sioux Michigan loop whenever I go over there. And recently, about 2 weeks ago, maybe, driving down that street and questioned my decision. I got a hold of Commissioner Gage there and was informed that it was on the list. So thank you. It's much appreciated by the Canadians.
Commissioner Gage.
I just also following on Councilor Scott's comments, I want to know that it was because of his comments specifically to me that we included it on the list. I want that on the record tonight. So we got that done.
Anybody else?
On the wastewater treatment plant upgrade, Mayor Gary, I believe you had some insight and input from our Canadian engineering staff that perhaps would be a good thing to share.
Sure, we certainly appreciate all of your staff. I don't remember, was it last fall? We had a tour of both your plants, west side and east side. And we had, who came with us? We had several of us.
Tyler was with us. Dave, you were tied up, right? Yeah. So Kirk and Tyler.
We had almost a full day tour of both facilities, and that was in the infancy of our planning. It's before we had even hired our professionals yet. So we appreciate the cross-border program that you had and training you gave us. Thank you.
I remember at the time you had told me that our wastewater treatment plant was so clean you could eat off the floor, which I recommended.
Sure, I said those exactly.
I recommended
very
against.
impressive.
I recommended against, but nevertheless, glad we could showcase some of our excellent infrastructure on this side. And anytime we're able to learn from you on some of the projects we're doing, that's a great benefit as well.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Other councilors with questions on the Canadian side? Okay, seeing none. We've got project updates on our side. Acting CAO Fields, who is presenting for us? We've got the port project and waterfront revitalization. We got Rick Van
Development will present with respect to the port project.
Thank you for coming. Rick?
Thank you, Mayor. Council. I'd like to speak today about the port development project that will upcoming. Right now, there's really a need for expansion within the community whole city. And we are growing port service demands beyond Algoma Steel itself. Sure opportunities, and we'll be pulling various businesses throughout. We start this project steeper in depth forward. The goal is really improve on our connectivity across to the US, around the world. Improve our region competitiveness. Job creation. Doing right now is really looking to create a shovel-ready plan. So the goal will be in the next 3 years to develop a plan that's ready to go. We can actually put this into action, start seeing ships coming to the new port. Will be a public port, so this is separate, distinct from Algoma's operations. So the port there, just community and it's both within as we move forward. It's really a generation project. This is something of a building for the future. So we build it out. This is something, you know, it's a very good tool. It's first approach previously proposed. We're looking at just getting started. Want to get something that's operational, scale it up, speak it more. Algoma Steel is changing their steel making process now to an electric arc furnace, and as they do that, we're going to have a types of feedstock. That's going to increase traffic that potentially at their existing facilities. So this will increase the need. And it aligns with our city values. So if you take a look at the visual here, we line in the orange is essentially the existing port delineation that Algoma Steel has. We go to the next slide, you can see the southwest corner. This is identified for potential development. So we're working closely with Algoma Steel to see how we can further the jet property. So the next steps, funding approvals. We have city and EDC funding in place now. We are waiting for some put in the Green Corridor program. So waiting to advise us that we should hear the. And if not, we do have funding sources that we'll be looking at. I want to establish the team as soon as that funding is in place. Establish a dedicated resource to lead the program. So the goal is ready for 2027. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you, Rick. Council, any questions?
Any questions from the city commission? For management?
Mr. Van Staveren, is it accurate to say that the delivery of materials, whether existing need for materials or the future need for materials to Algoma Steel, relies critically on the operation of the Sulaks, the American Sulaks?
Absolutely. And there's being heavily on that as well, but superior side. So
I know we've got a Sulaks update, so I don't want to go much further than that, but obviously the importance and the interconnectivity of the assets and the infrastructure in both of our communities is well known to all on both sides of the international border. So thank you, Mr. Van Staveren.
And agenda item 7.2, Waterfront Revitalization. Travis Anderson, the Director of Tourism and Community Development, is in attendance.
Thanks, Rachel. Welcome to Council, Travis.
Thank you, and thanks to everybody that's come today. You guys just gave us a nice bump in our US visitor stats for beginning of the month. Always great to see. So I've got 3 minutes and 24 slides, so buckle up. So I'm going to give a brief overview of our waterfront design plan. What we're looking at, this largely motivated by economic development and tourism. So we recognize the need to attract more visitors to the area and keep them here longer. And the investments that we're making in the waterfront, or hopefully will be making in the waterfront, to take us a long way to getting there. Every dollar invested in the waterfront results in a 2-time increase in visitor spending and up to a 30% increase in visitation. So quite significant for us. Sorry. So what we're looking at in terms of some of the overall concepts is an overarching continuous walkway and promenade. We're looking at greening the area and making it more appealing for passerbys and walkers to the area. We're also looking at incorporating in the design a swimming pool, standalone swimming pool in the river, built off of some concepts from Copenhagen, a large-scale destination play space, cantilevered outlooks, so visitors on our side can get a better look at the freighters through the area. Additional access to the water for kayakers and individuals alike, as well as more retail activation. The overall design area that we're looking at stems from the Canal District all the way to our former hospital sites. The concept that we're looking at is one large-scale linear park, and some of the key features that we're looking at, core focus area being Bondar Tent through to Clerg Park, which is the property that the city has the most control over. But larger scale design vision, including some of the private property owners, such as the mall. And the big concept there with the private property owners is looking at potentially relocating or realigning St. Mary's River Drive, where we would close the existing St. Mary's River Drive and move it closer to the mall, so have more retail activation in that area. So this is our core focal area, as you can see, from Bondar to Clerg Park. And I'm going to speak a little bit more about those in a second here. So this would be the Bondar Pavilion as well as the marina. Kind of highlight level here. Item number 3 would be the installation of more retail shops and potentially food truck areas. We're looking at making a stronger connectivity between this waterfront area up to Spring Street and to our plaza. Both in terms of Miss Marie, Loch Tour boat passengers, and our cruise ships to the area. We had about 17,000 passengers there that were looking for some additional areas to spend some money and spend some time. So we think this will address that. This is actually the City Hall site. So right now, despite being public land, our City Hall is largely viewed as private property. So we're looking at making it more inclusive and more welcoming. We've got areas where we're going to make a sort of civic functional area where people are able to spend some more time, get right down to the water, and also expand some of our fishing opportunities. There's a lot of good fishing right off of City Hall. So we want to make that more accessible to the community. We are also looking at this area for a potential cantilever out into the waterway so people can view the cruise ships and freighters a lot better, as well as a connectivity with a bridge over to Clerg Park so we can maintain people along the waterfront rather than having to go out to Foster. Here are some of the examples. So you can see the flexible gathering space would be the area between what is City Hall and Montana's. And then there would be stone terraces or terraces right down to the waterway, as well as a wood deck outlook. Moving over to Clerg Park, this is quite a significant area of interest for us. We would be looking at just beside us here, there's a little inlet, expanding that to potentially making it a accessible, almost like a beach area where you'd be able to get in and put your kayaks in or get down directly and touch the water. We're also looking at naturalizing the area. Currently, there's a small pond just north of that area, but it isn't fully integrated. So we're looking at revitalizing that and adding more fish and wildlife habitat. Number 3 would be the location of the floating river pool. And that would be a flagship feature for this area. And number 4 would be more of the extension directly down to the waterfront. We would also look at adding refrigeration units below the skating trail under this scenario that would allow people to skate, in winters that we've had, such as this past year. Beyond that, just moving on quickly here, we're over to the Suncor site. And while the city does not currently own the Suncor site, we certainly would like to advance those conversations. So if we were to obtain that site, we would be looking at making it into an eco area. So again, looking at expanding sort of wildlife viewing opportunities, some elevated boardwalks, created wetlands, and perhaps some biodomes to build off of the experiences that we have at Atomica at the Bishop Lake Museum. So in terms of next steps, where we're at right now is we've done 2 public consultation sessions. We've had over 900 people in the first session provide their feedback, and close to 800 in the second session. We're incorporating those comments in the design plan, and we will bring back sort of our final conceptual design early summer. So look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. That's a lot of exciting information there for a lot of potential for our waterfront, as we all know it holds. Open it up to questions from council. Councilor Gardy.
More of a comment, Mr. Mayor. I think for a long time, both of our communities didn't capitalize to the degree that they should have as to being on the water. I would argue that Sioux Michigan in the past did a bit of a better job activating, especially recreation on their waterfront than we did. The economy of the Great Lakes is, trillions of dollars of economic activity, and whatever we can do to capitalize on that in any way is of benefit to both of our communities and our countries, quite frankly. And I think based on what we've heard this evening, we're headed in the right direction. So a lot of exciting stuff for us on both sides of the river. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Vezo-Allen.
Thank you, Mayor. My question to Travis is regarding the public consultations. In the past, how would you compare the engagement with, you had 800 and then about 900 folks giving comments. Would you say that was an increase, say, and Peter, you might be able to comment on this, comparable to when we were doing like the Queen Street reconstruction and we did the public open houses. So is there more interest and more engagement with the waterfront as comparable to other public consultations?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Vesno-Allen. The largest public consultation session that we had prior to this, in my experience, was the Mountain Bike Trail Network, where we had about 355, which was, I think, more than triple that we've seen in the past. These numbers are exceptional. I think it shows the true interest of the community in the waterfront, the excitement for the potential of the waterfront, and quite honestly, the potential to correct a lot of mistakes that have happened in the past. So I think you're seeing huge interest in this.
And then just a comment, with my accessibility lens, this plan has been brought forth to the Accessibility Committee and everyone's very supportive, and there's been a lot of really good comment. Last week was National Accessibility Week, and it was really great to see our folks, trying to get on a parabus in a wheelchair and having some of our folks from the Accessibility Committee explain, sight loss and that kind of thing. So I think that really kind of opens up as to, what we can do when we're doing these improvements to make sure that they encompass the needs of everyone. So I appreciate that you have been to the committee and the committee is very involved. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Vezo-Allen. Gary?
Commissioners, any questions or comments? Commissioner Gage.
Well, I just think it's a tremendous plan, and certainly as somebody who spends a lot of time in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, I think that I'm looking forward to enjoying it as well. The thing that really intrigued me was the river pool. If you could explain how that works, it sounds awesome, but I have no idea how that works.
Certainly. I'm going to see if we can pull up a picture, but there's I can send you a video. There's an awesome video from Copenhagen, but sorry, 1 second here. Essentially, it's like a fully contained pool that's actually pushed directly out into the river. So the water is actually treated, and you can see the image top middle there. So it's fully contained, treated water that allows you to kind of immerse yourself in the river without truly immersing yourself in the river. And the one in Copenhagen, they also had the ability to heat it. So you had a hot tub in the winter, as well as, you know, the ability to freeze portions. So you have a hockey rink and a hot tub side by side, which I think would be spectacular.
It's good. Definitely going to ask because the river is usually a little cold.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really cool idea. So tremendous.
Mr. Bauer.
Is there an approximate price tag on that?
Just waiting to find out. We are, in all honesty, what we are doing is we are doing the class 3 cost estimate as part of this, and we'll come back with probably phases, just similar to what one of our northwestern communities, Thunder Bay, did. Is they did about $100 million investment. They did it over the course of 10 years. Management.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Boss's-Rath.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple. This is really exciting. I think you are hitting all the different aspects of being accessibility. You're having, you know, kids to adults to parents to the elderly. I think that's amazing. I am excited about the pool too. That's a really unique thing. Question about the timeline. In the perfect world, if you could give kind of like a start of the project to an end of the project, what do we? If you know.
I will defer that to the mayor.
I largely think that the decision will rest on what council's willing to approve and what amounts we're willing to approve at any given time. But the concept of doing it phased over years sounds pretty workable.
Yeah, thank you.
The plan, Travis, if I can expand on that, does the waterfront development plan cover a specific period of time? Like, is it a 15-year plan that needs to be renewed every so often, or?
It is it's estimated as a 20-year plan that would be considered a living document and updated, you know, based on kind of as things occur. I would say, at least on the private sector side, there's a lot of movement going on that may advance certain things faster than we would expect. So it's good to see.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Certainly very exciting, and we would love to see it happen. And to Councillor Gardy's comments, you're being a little hard on yourself because we had this discussion this morning, actually. We on our side kind of envy what you have on your waterfront, and I know that some of you envy what we have. So I think we should be mutually satisfied with both sides of the river. Thank you very much.
The grass may not always be greener, but the river is always bluer.
By your windows face south.
I believe, Madam Clerk, thank you, Travis. I believe that brings us to an American item on the agenda.
Under agenda item 8, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the SULOX project update.
Thank you, and I'll defer to City Manager Brian Chapman for introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight we have from the Army Corps of Engineers, Rachel Miller, who is the head of the SULOX construction project for the Army Corps of Engineers. And then waiting in the wings is Austin Dernberger, who is the head contractor for the SULOX project. Turn it over to Rachel.
Welcome.
Welcome to council.
Evening. Thank you for asking me to speak tonight. I work on a day-to-day basis with Austin. He's the construction manager for our primary contractor for the phase 3 new lock contract. I serve as the contracting officer's representative, which means I'm namely the government's representative in day-to-day execution of our construction contract. I'm going to try to move quickly. I know I don't have a lot of time. It's a very large program, about 10 years of work, about $3 billion all told when you encompass the entire program. And I know I don't have to preface, as I usually do, with how important the SULOX are. So I appreciate that. I can skip that part. All right, so our primary objective is to replace, in the place of the old Sabin lock, we're going to build a new lock that is the equivalent size of the Poe lock. As I mentioned, phase 3 is the new lot contract. We're actually started back in 2020 with some upstream channel deepening and then continued with the upstream approach wall contract. That's currently wrapping up this year. And then the largest of the 3 phases is the new lot contract, which a lot of people are already familiar with. Okay, so the upstream approach wall contract, as I said, is currently ongoing, expected to wrap up this year. About a $117 million contract when it was first awarded, and that prime contractor is Kokosing Alberici, which is a joint venture. The photo you see there on the right is the on-site batch plant, which is actually being transferred to the phase 3 for the new lot contract. Okay, and the new lot contract was awarded 2 summers ago to Kokosing Alberici Trailer. Currently have not awarded the entirety of the contract, but as you can see on the slide, about 83% of the total contract cost, which is significant. I also just want to highlight this is the largest project in the Corps of Engineers inventory in this area of the country, by far for the Detroit district and really for the Great Lakes and Ohio River division as well. So really one of the largest projects for the Corps of Engineers in this part of the country. I'm just going to go through very briefly some of the construction photos from this past summer. I do want to highlight this past Memorial Day weekend, we actually hit a significant project milestone, which was the dewatering of the existing Davis and Sabin locks, which were built over 100 years ago. So actually, I was looking on my drive across the bridge, which that's one of my favorite things about going to Canada. No offense to Canada, but it's a great look down at my project site. So a good way to check on things. So just some of the activities so far, we've got some stability struts that were installed in the existing structures, rock anchors in place, and then also some cofferdamming in place to allow for a dry work environment. And I really want to hit home how significant it is to be dewatered at this point, because that creates a dry working environment for the construction crews. It's a huge opportunity for Kokosing Alberici Trailer to really get some work done this summer. I do want to be clear with everybody that the hoe rams, the jackhammering is not going to go away anytime soon, but that is how you get rid of concrete. So significant lift this past spring to get there. The other thing is it isolates us from the St. Mary's River, which from an environmental perspective is huge and very much reduces the risk. I just want to highlight, because there were a lot of questions this past winter about the weather enclosures. So Kokosing Alberici Trailer constructed scaffolding and enclosed it to provide temperature controls. So that's what the giant tents were. I know there were some questions. And then also last summer, we had some blasting for rock excavation. I know we held a public meeting with some of the folks from Sault Ste. Marie. Went, I think, very smoothly, which is great. Blasting should be boring. As of right now, our construction contractor is planning on primarily performing rock excavation using mechanical means, so relatively reduced in terms of blasting. However, they do have that as an option should conditions merit it. If that is the case, we'll do an additional public meeting. Okay, and as I mentioned, we are dewatered. You see at the bottom of the lock there in that top left-hand photo, some of the old miter gates that were dropped into the lock chamber that have now been exposed with the removal of water. That concludes my briefing. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Rachel. I know that's usually a much longer presentation, so we appreciate the speed. Any questions from the Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan Commission? Commissioner Gage.
Only just to ask, it's great to see the progress you guys are making. When you're done on the Michigan side, is there any interest in coming across and doing one on the Canadian side? Or since you guys are here, I might as well.
Waterfront revitalization.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Thanks, Commissioner, I guess. Anybody else? Mr. Mayor.
Council questions? Yeah, sorry, Councilor Spina.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for that presentation. We look at this every day, so it's incredible to see the progress that's going on over there. And I think I already know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you anyway, only because I don't want to miss the opportunity. Can we have a tour?
We do offer tours through our public affairs office.
Well done. Well answered. Thank you.
how does one contact the public affairs office? Should they need to.
I will leave an email.
Glad to know it wasn't just me. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Council, yes, the consular, I drive over the bridge a couple of times.
I'm sure that when we get to Peter, he's going to tell us the date of the International Bridge Walk, which is like a tour, a quasi tour of the lock construction project. For the project cost, probably, I suspect more to the contractor, but do you have expertise you're using on this side, or people that are working on your lock project living over on this side? Do you have any sense of that?
Yes, we have a couple team members and employees from this side of the river that are part of our team. We highly encourage it. There's a great population pool on this side of the river that's eligible and available. So if you got people looking, get a hold of us. We're actively hiring. So.
And where would somebody look for that information if they were trying to find it?
I can provide some things after this. I can send some information over. You can always stop by our office on Portage Avenue. There's an email and phone number available that I can provide.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to comment, not a question, but I wanted to comment that in true American fashion, we announced a almost $1 billion upgrade to our steel plant, a short while ago. And then within months, they had to one-up us by announcing a $3 billion upgrade to their Sioux locks. So congratulations again, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We have one more question on our side, if we could, please.
It's just a comment that for anyone who's interested, Engineers Day is the last Friday in June, and you can get a closer look at the locks and at the project than you normally would on that day.
Great point. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Under agenda item 9, the International Bridge Authority update.
Thank you very much, City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We all know Peter from the International Bridge Authority, so he'll be giving us an update.
Welcome, Peter.
Welcome to council.
Mr. Mayor's, council, commissioners. First off, I do have the best house, truly. We'll come to that in a bit. If anybody's going to SueBridge.com, I'll keep my comments short tonight. SueBridge.com, please take a look. We have 3 baby peregrine falcons sometime this week. I'm not going to say which day, but weather permitting, the DNR will be up there with our bridge jacks, banding those birds, and then we will know names and genders when they do that. That is, since 2010, 42 birds that we've now hatched on the International Bridge through that program. When we last met at the last joint, I said that there would be a little bit of an update on a little sneak peek with our toll system. I am pleased to say that there was a press release that went out, but the International Bridge, we were the partners with the Blue Water Bridge and Federal Bridge in Port Edward and Port Huron. We are the contracting authority for that toll system for both crossings here in Sault Ste. Marie. Great partners, and we were the recipients of the International Bridge, Tunnel and Turnpike Association's Finance and Administration Award. There's only 8 awards issued worldwide annually, and I'm very proud to be a part of that team. You'll be pleased to know that we have no capital projects on the bridge this year. There will be just routine maintenance. My staff will be out there. I ask you, please go slowly through the work zones, but the work that's out there is just routine maintenance with regard to the bridge inspections and making sure that the work is done according to what's called for in the inspection contracts. This year, we will also be doing the underwater inspection. It's called for every 5 years by Transport Canada, and the piers that are in the water will be inspected by divers, and that's going to be done later this month. And then last but not least, International Bridge Walk. We co-host that with both Sioux Ontario and Sioux Michigan Chambers of Commerce. We're very proud to do that. That is last Saturday in June. It starts promptly at 9 o'clock. Busing will commence at 7 o'clock from their Marconi. And the location for the start of the walk is a little different from Lake State this year due to some construction. So it's over at the parking lot by the Fine Arts Building. And short.
And the date of that, sorry?
29th of June.
I was just going to say, I suspect it's one day after Engineers Day. Thank you, Peter. And Peter, I think, is an excellent example of what intertwines our community so well. Sioux Ontarian that works on an international border crossing. I think your office is probably over on the Sioux Michigan side, and represents both communities very well to the world, really, and showcases both communities as part of his job on a daily basis. So thank you for everything you do, Peter. Council questions?
Any questions from our commission? Thank you very much, Peter.
Madam Clerk?
Next on the agenda is the introduction of Lake Superior State University President, Dr. David Travis.
Thank you very much, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for introductions is Dr. David Travis, who's recently hired as the LSSU president. I believe today is his first official day, but he's been hanging out in the community for the last couple of weeks too. So we're happy to have Dr. Travis here. Look forward to an update.
Yes, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Welcome.
For having me here. It's a great way to really end my first day. Is when I applied for this job, I was hopeful that it would be one that had a strong relationship between the two sister cities. And sitting here listening to all of you talk about finding ways to work together to support each other is exactly the vision that I had in coming into this position as the next president at Lake State. My background is interesting in that I grew up in Georgia. I'm an American citizen, but my parents are both Canadian. My mom was born in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and my dad was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Most of my family, though, extended family, was in Ontario. So I spent much of my childhood coming up to visit cousins and relatives. My parents were the first to emigrate from their respective families into the United States. So I had this odd conflict of saying y'all and a at the same time, as a kid. And I also had an obsession with snow and hockey, which really didn't do much for my social life. So I knew that I was going to be heading north at some point. And I've been doing that. I got my doctorate at Indiana University, and my first faculty position was in southern Wisconsin, and the position I just left was in sort of northwest Wisconsin. So now here I am on the edge of the United States and Canada. So I kind of feel like I've come home, and I'm really, really excited about this. Lake State's a great university. I think, if anything, the university might be a little guilty of not selling itself loudly enough. And you're going to hear me do that over and over and over. We do great things for students every single day. I've met some students, former students here already just this afternoon. And I'm really pleased to see the two cities supporting each other, really sister cities working together. I always tell parents when we're recruiting their children to come to our university that it's not just the university that is welcoming them, it's the city that surrounds the university. In this case, it's two cities that surround the university. So I'm really excited to see this partnership and hope that we can grow our welcome package for these students, and really their experience can make it even more special when they're here. I'm going to be proactively reaching out to Sioux College and Algoma University to try to forge relationships with leaderships on both of those campuses. I think we have great opportunities to really raise the profile of all three schools, and that really just does nothing but help both of these cities simultaneously. So I'm really excited about that. I do want to give a couple shout outs to Lake State, and just for awareness. We've been working really hard, and I say we, not me, day one, but the people that I'm working with on developing a number of new exciting academic programs. We're just launching a Master's of Business, an MBA program, which will also be online. I think that will help grow the footprint of the area that we can recruit from. We're also working on a Master's in Fisheries and Wildlife, developing a new cybersecurity program. We've also launched a prison education program with the local prison nearby, which will allow those inmates to be able to get college degrees. A first-time opportunity for many of them. Very excited also, we've had two new board members named. One is Whitney Gravel, who is the president of Bay Mills Community, and really will help, I think, strengthen our relationship and our commitment to Indigenous populations, something that our university, and I know this side of the river, is very committed to supporting. And Kevin Cooper, who is a local dentist, well-known in the area. You might recognize his father, Bud Cooper, as a name from the past. Very, very supportive of our sports programs. And we've been recognized. We're constantly recognized. I think what we don't do is take those recognitions and really sell them loudly enough. The gold standard is World News Report and U.S. World News Reports, and they rank universities and colleges around the country and the world on a regular basis. And Lake State has recently been recognized as the top public school in the Midwest, number one best college for veterans in the Midwest, and the number one best bang for the buck, for your buck in Michigan. So, and that's three of many other examples I could give you. So we're going to be talking, I would say, more loudly and more confidently about what Lake State can do to help the region and hopefully contribute to this side of the city as well. I'm very excited in this position and looking forward to working with all of you.
Thank you, Dr. Travis. Certainly good to see the support of LSSU's chairperson, Tim Lukenda, behind you, who is no stranger to any of you. Any questions from Sault Ste. Marie City Commission? Any comments? Commissioner Habusta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment. Dr. Travis, in this room sits LSSU employees, alumni, parents, and students, and others with connections to our great university. With your hire, we share one thing: hope for the future of Lake State. Today, I'm most hopeful with your presence here today, your first day on the job, because it recognizes your commitment to Lake State's community involvement and presence, both within Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan and Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. And for that, I am grateful and looking forward to continuing to grow this relationship together. Thank you.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
Commissioner. Mr. Mayor.
Council, questions? Councilor Gardy.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. President, I'm just wondering, in the relationship that you will continue to forge with our post-secondary institutions on our side of the border, if there's an opportunity there to work in concert to address labor market shortages on either side of the border, for which each respective institution may have their own expertise. So I'm wondering, would that be a possibility that relationship could evolve in that sort of way, would you think?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I want to do, and whether the fact that I'm a Canadian citizen as well, I'm not sure that matters, but I think it gives me great comfort to work with Canadians. We need to find out what is in greatest need across the river. I think we've been developing our programs with maybe a little more of a focus on what's needed on our side of the river. And that's one of my jobs, is to find out what is the need over here. What are students interested in as well over here? I would like to reopen the pipeline, and reopening pipelines isn't always a popular thing to say, but to bring students back from Canada into Lake State. We used to have upwards of 20% of our student population, and now we're down to about 8% Canadians. And so a lot of opportunities, and it starts with that, finding out what the job market's calling for, finding out what the students coming out of high school are interested in doing. And I'm hopeful you can help me with those types of things.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Gardy. Other councilors, questions? I had a couple of quick ones. First off, speaking of reopening the pipeline of students, I know Lake State is known for its hockey team, but I think it was in at its peak when it had 20% of its Canadian population as
coincidence. I don't know.
There is the Center for Freshwater Research that Lake State oversees on the American side. I believe there is some collaboration with Canadian government on projects they're undertaking. So perhaps you could give us a high-level overview of that.
Well, and I'm giving, again, day one here, so I'm still learning myself, and I actually just found out about that today. A large Canadian grant funding some of the work we're doing across the river. We're doing a lot of work with release of different types of fish, and also trying to work, I think, on some of the ecology in the area, especially related to the Soo Locks project. Beyond that, I'm still learning as well. I was just very pleased to hear this morning that we are collaborating with the Canadian government on some of these projects already.
Yes, I think that, despite our unsuccessful efforts to get a Canada Water Agency, some of the efforts that the Center for Freshwater Research is undertaking, supported by the Canadian government, is one area where we can expand that knowledge base for the local, for the benefit of both of our local communities. So,
fantastic.
With that, I'll just, Mayor, Gary mentioned, and as your board chair, but I just, I indicated when Peter was here that he represents kind of the best of both of our communities. But the fact that you are the president of an American institution with a Canadian as your board chair, I think is laudable. And, if there was a ranking for best Canadian chairpersons of American universities, I suspect Tim would be at the top of that list.
I won't argue with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
That brings us to agenda item 10. I have a motion by councillors Spina and Gardy that this council shall now adjourn.
Before we do that, I'm just going to present to my friend here, Mayor Gary, a beautiful picture painted by Amy Williams, who is a local artist on our side of the International Bridge in the Sioux Locks, which really represents the greatness of both of our communities. So I'll present that to Mayor Gary.
Proudly display that in City Hall.
And I'd also like to thank you, Mr. Mayor. You invited me last week or 2 weeks ago when you hosted the First Lady, Jill Biden, at Bay Mills, and appreciated the opportunity to collaborate with you on that visit. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, we could vote on the motion to adjourn. All in favor? Mr. Mayor, any formalities on your end to end the meeting?
We do. We have item C, which is matters presented by the public. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to make any comments at this time? Seeing none, we move to matters presented by the City Commission. Any commissioners have any items? Mayor Pro Tem Bauer.
The fact that no one said anything, you guys are great.
Thank you. And we would entertain a motion to adjourn our side of the meeting as well.
So moved.
Support. Moved and supported that we adjourn this meeting. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council.